Okay, well, we'll start, and then if people join, they'll just join and pick it up when they pick it up. And again, I will do the recording and then post it at some point in time and email the group that they're eligible for the internship in January. So for the students online, thank you very much for taking the time. I know this is early when you're thinking about an internship that doesn't occur until January. There are two people online with me who have been tremendously helpful in my learning experience over the last month. Corinne Bennett, who's a coordinator with Career Life here at Memorial University on campus in St. John's, and Corinne Bennett and Kristen Casey, who's the manager at Harlow Campus. So both Corinne and Kristen will chat as we go through the process. Corinne a little later and Kristen a little earlier. And again, we'll sort of feel free to interrupt each other. I have no pride on my end, so to correct anything and then those pieces, but the two ladies have actually have more knowledge and experience than I could even imagine at this stage. So I'm going to walk through the presentation, hopefully give everyone some information and sort of get to why we're doing this so early, why we're not waiting till September to do it. We will redo a presentation in September, but it changes some of the requirements that you may have to go through. So for those students who have a friend or a classmate, again, you can alert them to the fact that they can get this online, and two, that they wait, they're just meaning the step will change a little bit if they wait till later after July. There'll be a new wrinkle in the process, but nothing that you can't overcome. So this is our Harlow presentation. I will click through this.
Hey everybody, I'm here at England, Harlow Memorial University. About yourself, Kristen.
Good morning. I am from just outside of St. John's. Part of the Harlow Campus, and I actually stayed there when I came here in 2005 for music education.
So Harlow Campus is a very important part of Memorial University of Newfoundland and Labrador. And we have students here right now, don't we?
We do. We have 21 students here at the moment for visual arts and theater arts.
And we have students coming this weekend?
Yes, we have biochemistry coming. We have 10 students coming this weekend, along with 3 faculty members.
So for any student watching this video, find out from your professors about Harlow Campus and make sure you take a course that brings you here. This is a long history with Memorial University. With this campus is how old now with Memorial?
From the 60s, we acquired these buildings.
And so everyone, make sure you take an opportunity to come visit Harlow Campus while you're studying at Memorial University. Tales from the Road Month. Welcome.
So I thought I'd start with that the president of the university, and we got to see Kristen on camera and doing her thing. Sort of to remind everybody or to the importance of Harlow Campus and what it means for Memorial University and the long legacy that it's had with the university. So it established in 1969, its first internships in 69. Kristen referred to it, the cottage accommodations from 1650. It's 26 miles from London, so it's a short train ride away. And obviously one of the incentives to students attending or going to university in Harlow is that while they're doing their internship, they can get to visit Europe. It's just a quick jaunt, either a cheap flight or a train ride away, which obviously is not the North American experience. As it alludes to, that there's a couple of airports you can get to, and one of them being a fairly economical flights that can get out of Stansted Airport. So a good option there. Gatwick is another one that students will often go to get a flight to Paris or somewhere else if they're not taking the train. So that's certainly my two children and my wife all attended Harlow. So I've been to Harlow, but never attended there as a student. But if you can imagine, looking at me, my wife looks a lot younger than I do, but it's been a while since my wife attended, and our two of our daughters attended as well. So we're big proponents of taking the opportunity to do an internship, both personally and professionally.
Dan, if I can just interrupt there. I was actually an education intern here in 2005. I didn't start working at the campus until just last month. I wanted to come back and support future students coming and having the experience here. And I can just say that one of the greatest gifts that we have being so close to Stansted Airport and as educators in this country is that we actually have a half term. I know we'll speak about that later, but Stansted Airport is about 20-minute drive away, 2 stops on the train, and you can get to Belgium in about 30 minutes on the flight. Skyscanner is a really good website where you can find lots of different flights, and Ryanair and EasyJet are 2 of our main discounted airlines. But you have a half term, so you have about 9 days in total that you could travel. Plus you have weekends, so you could go out on a Friday evening and come back on a Sunday afternoon in plenty of time to be back for the classroom on Monday morning.
Thanks, Kristen. The maps, we threw this on the slide to give you an idea of how close to London you are. If you're not familiar with UK, Harlow is obviously a lot of students will jump to London for the weekend, or at least for a Friday or Saturday night. So if you're not traveling somewhere else, that's another great spot to enjoy. I absolutely love London. So the purpose of this is to introduce you to the internship at Harlow Campus. Why to complete your internship? We'll share this. I'll start and then I'll flick it over to Kristen. The pedagogy that you would experience in the UK is a little different than the Canadian experience. So therefore, when you do your internship in UK, you're going to come back with things that you will be able to put in your toolbox, or a different perspective on education that I think will have significant impact on you, certainly early in your career, and some of it will hold on and incorporate and become part of you as a teacher. So I think that's purely on a professional level, why we would encourage students to go to Harlow is for that experience that you'll bring back, whether you stay in UK or be like Kristen and a few lots of other Newfoundland Labradorians who decide to make the country a permanent spot, and that, or you just choose to come back to Canada and teach somewhere here. Lots of collaborative skills. One of the great things about doing a study like this is that you're living on campus, you're working together with your classmates, you're always picking each other's brains, sharing experiences. The culture and the travel we refer to, we can't undersell or oversell the value of being able to add that to your life experiences. Because life is all about finding experiences that enrich you, different ones, things that stick with you. And I mentioned that it's probably 35 years ago that my wife went to Harlow, and she still has memories of Harlow and of some of her travels there. I'm going to flick it over to Kristen, and I'll
Okay.
PowerPoint. I'll put them all up. Kristen, you can talk to them.
Thank you. Okay, so before I go on to this, some of the perks of doing your internship in England is learning a key number of skills that you would have the experience in Newfoundland, but it's quite rigorous over in the UK in terms of education and accountability. So you will have we call them mentors over here, but a cooperating teacher. That cooperating teacher is highly experienced. We have many interns and many different training opportunities in the UK. So the mentor that you'll be placed with will be someone who's experienced and will be able to sit next to you really throughout the process and support you throughout your planning, your prep, your lesson planning. Assessment over in the UK is very rigorous. We have a governing body called Ofsted. Ofsted will come into your classroom and monitor everything that you're doing. So we're quite used to having an open door policy and having people come in and out of our classrooms. So you will have a good understanding of an assessment of teaching to the top and differentiating down. So being able to provide a curriculum that is rigorous and supportive for all learners. Okay, so the UK is in need of teachers. It is, yeah, okay, I just left the profession. I may be back, but there is a gap in the market. So once you have completed your internship, the chances that you are recruited are quite high. I cannot guarantee anything, but if it's not at one of your placement schools, it could easily be in the community, or if you want to go somewhere like London, you could go to tes.co.uk and you can take a look at right now the job opportunities that are available. At the moment, it is June, so the majority of the jobs would have gone out around Easter time because we have to give half terms notice, which would have been 2 weeks ago. So you'll see jobs there, but the wealth of jobs that would have been there about 2 months ago would have been huge, thousands and thousands of jobs. You can get a permanent position in your first year. When I was here, I was offered a permanent position, and then I had a leadership opportunity within my second year. So there was no need to retrain in order to get a promotion. In the UK, you have regular drop-in sessions. You'll have the mentors, you'll have your heads of faculty and your supporting members of staff who will come in. You're offered training within the school, and you can get promoted to subject lead, to head of key stage, which is a set of year groups within your first couple of years. With the DFE are pioneering a new program this summer. There's a 3-day fully paid pre-employment training for any overseas trained teachers. Back when I came over, we had to actually do a course through university. Now, Canadian teachers are fully accredited in the UK, but in order to support the differences between the UK and overseas curriculums, they are offering a 3-day program as of August. So if you decided that you would like to stay here and seek employment, you would be able to take that opportunity up. Like I said, there's no need to retrain. Once you have completed your training, you would have qualified teacher status, QTS. It's a good salary. It's well above the average salary for the UK. So if you did a little Google search of the average salary for the United Kingdom, a starting salary is a good few thousand above that. Plus, there's room for negotiation with your school. So if they want you, if you're in a subject that is of need, they will pay for you essentially. It's a good opportunity for continuous professional development. Schools will provide their own internal professional development, and you'll be able to train outside as well. So, for example, I am a lead practitioner. So I did a course that accredited me to go and support other teachers at different schools, a specialist leader of education as well. And so you can actually build up your portfolio of professional accreditation through your school. And some schools also pay for things like master's programs. If you wanted support, you can also find an agency, and an agency will support you with the job hunt. Now, they could take a cut of your earnings, but schools will pay a lot of money for a good teacher. So you probably wouldn't notice much if they did take a small cut of your wage, and it counteracts having stress to try to find a job, try to find somewhere to live. They'll take care and support all of that for you.
Thanks, Kristen. We'll have a chance at the end, by the way, for any questions. So if there's students who have questions. I can quickly go through this and Kristen can add something. Our program, our internship is 13 weeks. If you look at half term, interrupting, that's about a 14-week period. So school starts in January the 5th. and we'll end around then March 31st, and the half-term break that Kristen mentioned is on the 11th and the 19th. Now, individual schools, Kristen tells me, may have a slight modification in that schedule, but that'll give you a good ballpark for how it looks.
So we have local authority schools, and we have academies, and we have grammar schools. So they could change that. So it tends to be a 3-month term with a week off in the middle, but the schools can start slightly later. So on January 5th, you might go straight into teaching. Obviously, with you guys will have a gradual increase in that. And you'll probably start with observations, or you could come back on the 5th, and the 5th and 6th could be inset days, so just teacher training. In the past, when I've mentored students coming from Memorial University, I thought it was best if they were there for the inset training days, so they could become a part of the school community straight off from the beginning of the term. Midterm break for state schools, so for your comprehensive trust local authority schools, it will be 1 week, and for grammar schools, you could be 2, and then slightly earlier finish if you're in a grammar school. But like Darren said, that's a good ballpark range to be working with at the moment.
Yeah, I just realized I made an error when I updated it. So last week would be March 31st would be the last day, assuming it's 60 days. We'll have to calculate the calendar on that one. So I'll fix that slide presentation. Too late for the recording. My error is going to be viewable for everybody. The other thing that we wanted to point out is that sometimes students will stay a little longer before they return, and the cost of accommodations are really modest when you think about it. So if you choose to tack on a week at the end to do some additional travel, or to stay in the area, you can arrange that as well. I will let Kristen talk about the pictures. Obviously, I vaguely remember Harlow, so.
Okay, this is a bird's eye view of the campus. So where the cursor is right now, that is the Maltings. So that used to be a brewery, and I've been told by reputable sources it was actually an underground parachute making facility during the war. So that was taken over by the university in the 60s, and that's the main building where we have space to accommodate about 20 to 25 students, either shared or single occupancy, and those rooms all have an ensuite. At the end of the hallways, the windows that is on the near side closest to us would be the kitchens. You have kitchens at the end of all the hallways, laundry facilities, and our offices are just where those trees are. Where those trees are there, that's what you're seeing outside the window behind me there. And you'll also have the bird's eye view of the cottage, which is the red roof there, and we'll get a little bit of closer look into that. And you are looking down from the top of St. John's Ark, which is a large church, which is right next door to the campus facilities. So we can go to the next slide. That is the entrance to the campus. So we have somebody here pretty much all hours of the day while you are here. So from 8 o'clock in the morning, we have a receptionist. We will join at 9 o'clock. There's an evening receptionist who stays until 7, and then security that stay on the site until we return in the morning. Your dinners will be prepared in they're called the portals, but it's like a canteen, the portals within this building here. And we also have common room and a resource center within this room as well. And if you have to take any exams, for example, while you're on site, there's space and facilities for those exams. And we have some desktop computers here, and the whole campus is Wi-Fi compatible. This is St. John's House. These are slightly strangely stretched photos here, but this was an old Victorian schoolhouse. So a lot of courses run some sessions within this space. It is also open for the community. So we have Tai Chi in there 1 day a week if you'd like to attend. And outside we tend to have a barbecue for all the residents at least once every term. So you'll be able to take advantage of that if you were to attend. And if you enter the door, if you go to the right, you're at the schoolroom, and on the left is a accommodation for staff. So if we go to the next one, this is Cabot House. This is our our showcase building. This building is from 1650. This is the one that we tend to put education students in because it's quite nice for you guys to have your separate space where you guys can sit down in the living room or in the dining room and prep, plan, bounce ideas off one another. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms upstairs that are double occupancy and 2 single occupancy rooms downstairs. We don't have en suites here because unfortunately in the 1650, we didn't have en suites. So there's 2 shower rooms and 1 half bath in this. So there's three facilities. Plus you do have your full kitchen and dining room. And we also have housekeeping services that will come and tidy up and support you with your linens throughout the week as well. This is the inside of Cabot House. So if you're very tall, you may want to start ducking down when you enter any rooms, because if you're 6 foot, you're going to be scraping the ceiling in this place pretty much. But as you can see, it's a very friendly, warm space where you guys can sit down, have a chat, plan, prep, cook your dinners on the weekends, and prepare any lunches that you may need to take to keep you running during the school day.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. Again, we'll have time for questions at the end. Just to run through, and this is the call it the estimates of the cost, just so students will ask, how much is this going to cost? And these are just estimates for information purposes to give you a ballpark of what you're looking at. For instance, the first one obviously is the air flight. I put in $1,200. You might I think it's something cheaper. You know, it might be more expensive. Obviously, those are things that you shop around for. But I think that gives you a ballpark. I looked online. I could get, I think one was as cheap as $1,000. It was the cheapest I could find. But a lot of them are coming in around $1,100. The occupancy rate for the 14 weeks, as you can see, shared occupancy is $3,000. So a reasonable cost on that part. That certainly is a good price. The visa application, and you're going to say, why isn't this precise? Because it's not, unfortunately. And I'm going to flick it over to Corinne in just in a second. It's around $600, and then there's an international health surcharge that's gone up in recent times to $1,500. Your tuition varies right now because we have tuition changing at the university. So it could be low as $1,325 and maybe as high as $3,000, not including any additional fees that you might be responsible for. The living expenses is really personal. This is your own, how much money you spend. I mean, I'm sure in the class right now, there's people who spend a lot of money every week, and there's people who don't spend a lot of money every week. So this was a artificially created number based on some past experiences. Obviously, if you spend a lot of time in the pub, $3,500 is not going to be enough, right? And so the total estimate's somewhere between $11,000 and $13,000. But I will pass the mic over, I guess, to Corinne to talk a little bit about what she knows about how you go through this process.
Thanks, Darren. Good afternoon, everyone. Kristen, you make me want to go over. I think I need to check that place out for sure.
Come on down.
But in all seriousness, it is accurate with respect to the visa application where it says approximately $600. And that is based on your personal situation. If it is you, if you're applying to bring a dependent, if you're applying to bring a spouse. So you have to select what is applicable to you, and those prices can change quickly as well. So it may be approximately $600 today, and in 3 months' time, it could be, I won't say less, it could definitely be higher. I see the upfront cost for the IHS, that's a non-negotiable, you cannot avoid that. That upfront cost can also, title can also be applied to the visa application as well, because you're doing it online at the same time. With respect to a visa application, I'm just opening up my current update. VFS Global is the contracted organization by the federal government which manages a task called the biometrics. And they do visit our campus. They're back on campus, I should say. They always did pre-pandemic. And we do have a set schedule with them in July and in November of this year. And those appointments, I learned, fill up quite quickly. So we're actually going to be working with VFS Global with respect to frequency that they visit our campus to be able to work with not only Department of Education or Faculty of Education, but our business faculty as well with respect to timing, because the most recent information I received is that under our current world crisis, the UKVI is prioritizing the Ukraine Family Scheme. So at this time, they are quoting 6 weeks for processing. However, the experience so far has been definitely more than 6 weeks. And I know that is today's situation, but that, again, we don't know what we would be dealing with in a month time, 3 months time, 5 months time. And the reason why I'm telling you this is the sooner you can commit and apply and have confirmation of your intention to go to Harlow or any work term out of country, is advanced planning is the key. This is not something you can tread with lightly on leaving it last minute and in a couple of months saying, oh, I think in 2 months time I'll go to Harlow. Well, you may have missed your windows to have your paperwork back in time based on the timings that Krista just and Darren had just shown that it would start on January 5th. So, and that's good information on our end to keep an eye on. So planning and making a commitment to doing this as early on as possible is the key to the success of getting the paperwork to go. I'm not sure if anything else, Darren, you wanted me to highlight on that slide?
No, again, just to go back to that sort of, so why did we have this presentation so early? So in the normal world we lived in pre-pandemic, the July would have worked out great for our students in September. And then the November would have worked out fine for our students in January. So when the company was on campus, you make your arrangements and everything worked fine. So what now, of course, with the 6 weeks being the minimum and not the experience, November in all likelihood will be too late for January. So we have 2 students who are going from education. We just reopened the sort of internship about a couple of months ago for the fall. So there's a late call to see if anyone was interested in going to Harlow in September. We do have 2 students who are going through the process, and in their case, July would have been too late for September. So they're actually flying to Halifax to get their appointment with this company, VFS Global, in order to do the biometrics. So if you're thinking about Harlow now, then Green is a great support here on campus to talk to and help point you in the right directions. Then now might be a great chance to get in July well in advance worrying about anything for January. If not, you may end up having to look at Halifax or Toronto as a location to get the assessment done in September, or October. So, Corinne, I don't know if and you want to add to or correct or modify anything I just said.
I do want to add to that. As of this morning, there was a gentleman, not a MUN student, an external client. Look, because we do accept external clients, or VFS Global accepts the external clients. This is the location that we host. He had started to inquire about it a little over 2 months ago, but had to go through certain processes, including getting his passport renewed. So that delayed him as well. As of this morning, appointment structures for either St. John's or Halifax are fully booked up into October. And they are in Halifax monthly. So that'll give you a clear indication of the demand for the biometric step for visa applications for the UK. So again, the planning is very important. This gentleman has decided to go to Ottawa. He can fly out in the morning, do his appointment, and fly back that evening, therefore avoiding any hotel costs, because we recognize there's additional costs and burdens to the student, including potentially missing a day of school, right, of classes. So working through that and knowing your plan, and either engaging myself, Darren, or Kristen to make sure things are lining up as needed is very, very important. You know, you often hear of students saying, well, I was talking to my friend and this is what they did. But what they did may not be applicable to you. So it's important to follow the directions and instructions from the websites and anything that the three of us certainly advise on.
It might be worthwhile noting that the visa is valid for 2 years once you do get it. So once you get it, you do have a lot more freedom to work and travel across the UK. And
once you graduate, absolutely, you can do your internship. You come back for your last semester, and then you can go back. So it is a 2-year plan, yeah, which is good. So if you have a long-term vision for it, it's definitely the route to go for sure.
And the international health surcharge is good for 2 years too, right? Correct. So that covers you for if you do decide to return. So those are all the pluses, I guess, and we don't want to paint in any way this discussion to discourage anybody. We really want people to go to Harlow. We think that it will be a life, if not life-changing event, a memory that you will never ever forget, and you'll hold on to even when you're old and gray, looking like me.
So Darren, you also made a comment that you know how it looks today could change in a month or 2 months. You know, and as in there could be a wrinkle, but it's true. It's not anything that you can't overcome. Some are worried that the process is complicated. It's not a complicated process. It's a step-by-step, lengthy process. It can be very overwhelming at the beginning, but we also have some tools here out of my office that can help the person go through things step by step to make sure this is what I need, not only to get there, but this is what I should be aware of en route and when I do arrive in the UK. So we have those tools in place to be able to help the student, because it is overwhelming. There's a lot of information coming at you while you're studying. So we're here to help.
And the 2 students that started this process, you know, recently, they didn't have a whole lot of time to sort of consider, you know, what am I going to do? They jumped into it. They met with Corinne, and they're off to the races. Everything has gone fairly smoothly at this stage of the game, and they're not overwhelmed right now. They're feeling really confident. We're all feeling very confident. Kristen on the other side of the pond has arranged a school for them to go in, has rooms ready for them to sleep in. So, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to leave the impression that you don't have a lot of support, because you've got, you know, you do have a lot of people who here at the university, whether it's in St. John's or at Harlow, in your camp, supporting this process.
I'm just going to put it out there that I'm there this summer. I'm going to be meeting with the 2 education students this summer before they travel. I'm just home on vacation. So if anyone else is interested and would like to meet during that time, just my email's towards the end, but just give me an email and we can meet up for a coffee and a chat about the whole process.
So I mentioned some of the costs, and you were saying, well, that's a lot of money, right? For a lot of people. There are a bunch of scholarships and awards that you can apply for. There's sort of twofold. Some are campus-wide that that gets considered business students and education students primarily, and some are designed just for education faculty students. They all have their little nuances. I shared the link, and there's a scholarship office here, Memorial, that also has people to help. Great thing about the university, it seems like every time you run into I don't know anything, there's somebody. The issue is we tend not to ask, right? And we sort of struggle on our own. I'd say forget that. Start calling people, and if they don't know the answer, they'll connect you to somebody who knows the answer. And so the scholarships and awards are there for you to take, and you should see if you can't see some money to offset some of your costs to go to Harlow. Corinne sort of referred to the gentleman who was an external candidate who ran into the passport issue. This is something that I wouldn't have came naturally to me. That I would have looked to see if my passport was valid, and I would have been happy. Gee, okay, it's valid till Christmas, or it's valid till February, or valid till April in this case, right? Thinking everything is good, but your passport has to be valid for 6 months. Oh, I didn't update this slide, sorry. For after you return. So if you think about your exiting the UK in April, you got to add 6 months to that April date. So this slide is incorrect. It's not June.
September.
It's September. So you need to check so if you have your passport's not valid now, step 1. It's good for your passport to be updated anyway, even if you're still considering this whole Harlow thing. But step 1 is to get a passport that's going to be valid for you. This is normal things for you. You're gonna get a criminal record check, vulnerable sector check. The copy will go to me, but your originals will go with you in your suitcase in a secure location that you don't lose. So that you'll need to bring, along with 2 references that you'll need to bring to your school. Kristen, anything to add on that piece?
We just have DBS checks. So essentially, when you go into school, we have a single central records, and you have to have a risk assessment, and someone would have to sign off that if you were to be a UK resident, because you don't have a history here, we need to kind of sign off that you are safe to be in a school. So the criminal record and vulnerable sector check will take care of that. Plus, recently, they asked for 2 professional references. So that can be from any employer, teacher, any professional person that you may know that can vouch for you being in a good person fit to be in an education setting.
Kristen, is there a cost for that DFS, I think you called it?
It's a DBS. It can't be done here because number 1, they don't have a permanent residence, but they don't have a history here. So they wouldn't have a criminal history even if a DBS check was to be done. So what the schools tend to do is to do a risk assessment, and the mentor will sign away that they agree that this paperwork covers, and that liability is essentially passed on to them, so you can move freely about the school.
Perfect. And Darren, the criminal record check and the vulnerable sector check here in Canada for them, is there a cost to that? Because I know if you're a volunteer with an organization and you have a letter supporting that it is free. Otherwise, I think it's nominal of, I don't know, $25 or $30. I'm just wondering, is that an encumbered cost to the student to get their CRC and their vulnerable sector check?
Yeah, I mean, it's a $20 charge, but they got to have that anyway, no matter whether they
Yes.
go to Harlow or they stay here. It's a requirement that we have for the students.
Perfect.
Regardless. So
Perfect. Okay. No, I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, listen, an unmovable object. And Kristen mentioned the two references, and if you can't find two people to tell you, say nice things about you, you have work to do. Kristen will add to a little bit of flavor on the UK experience. And these are primary pictures. I know some of the people online will be intermediate secondary students, Kristen.
Yeah, I'll just quickly talk about the school experience. So, well, in the UK, students usually start school around 8:30 a.m. They usually have a form time, so that would be a homeroom for about 30 minutes. Then they would go to classes. There's a difference in the curriculum. Some schools may do 1 hour classes, so 5 1 hour classes with extracurricular either at lunchtime or after school. Some schools do 100-minute lessons, so 3 100-minute lessons depending on your age group. When you get into the older years, so years 9, 10, 11, you tend to have the longer lessons. And I was a skeptic about those longer lessons, but you can get so much done in 100 minutes in a classroom. Once again, you won't be left to do any of this planning on your own. You will be planning if you're in primary school, so the upper years of primary school or secondary, you'll be doing joint planning. You would have lots of support from different other colleagues throughout the school. So not only your cooperating teacher, mentor, you would also have usually an initial teacher trainee support. So there'll be other people in the school going through the process at the same time as you. So you'll be able to work alongside these colleagues to support your planning, preparation, resourcing. And there's a national curriculum in the UK. So we have a curriculum that's published. Most schools will follow this national curriculum. There's testing at the end of year 6. So that's called a SATs. And students in the UK are currently sitting GCSE exams. So that is at the end of year 11. So you may be part of preparing students for those examinations. Otherwise, it's very much dependent on the school, on the mentor, on the structure of that school, but we have great relationships with a number of schools within the town. And you know, I can say that I uplifted within 2 weeks and moved back over here. So it's not that bad. It's a great experience. And you have a lot of experienced mentors here who are used to having Memorial University students. A lot of the schools here have a history of supporting trainees since the 80s. So you've got a lot of experienced staff here who are ready to support you along your journey.
And there's a lot of people from the province who stayed there, right, when they went.
Yeah, well, when we did the primary presentation a couple weeks ago, Lisa Fish, this is my husband's school, Pemberley Academy. And this Lisa is his deputy head at that school. She is from CBS, like I am. And yeah, there's quite a few of us around. And if you go to the Crown Pub, which is right around the corner, you'll find even more. We tend to stick around the old Harlow area.
Yeah. What about COVID? People wondering about COVID still and what's happening. If there's an emergency there, I'll throw this out before Kristen comments on the COVID local situation. Is that the university? One thing about it is that you've got a full university behind you to support anything that happens. So if there's an emergency, you're not left alone. Besides the people on Harlow Campus, there's a full support that would be there to help if something was to happen and the students needed to return. There would be assistance on that part, not covering the cost to travel back, but all the other things that go with it.
So we have an emergency plan in place with the internationalization office and a local company here. So we take care of any on-site emergencies or any emergencies that happen in the country where you are or where you'll travel. COVID-19 over here is part of your everyday life. If you want to look at some government mandates about COVID-19 in the UK at the moment, you'll see that it's life is normal. So like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, kind of jokingly, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said education will be the last to close if anything was to happen again, because we know the detrimental impact that closing had upon young people in this country. If there's an emergency, you are covered, and we have a local doctor's surgery. It's called a doctor's surgery, but doctor's office. That's just a 5-minute walk across from the campus. That's my doctor's surgery personally as well, and I can say that they're fantastic. If you have an emergency in the morning, they'll see you that day. They also have an emergency triage in the evening. Apparently, the country is going back into walk-in centers. So if you have a more severe emergency or it's outside of hours, instead of going to the accident and emergency, so the emergency room, you go to the walk-in centers. And we also have an A&E. We had a student here with food poisoning who took himself there about 3 weeks ago, and he was fully refreshed and supported and sent back to us. And then we had a support plan for him upon his return. So you're well looked after here by the team. We have a team of 12 colleagues who are here day and night to support with your every need.
Yeah. There's one thing I wouldn't worry about, that you're gonna be left alone and something happens and you don't have anyone to reach out to. This is just a poster that was done a few years ago about a few things that you might, and this is stuff, by the way, as you work through the process, we would refresh you on, simple things like the cell phone and getting a SIM card and the cheap cell rates once you get over there. But I'll call it the down in the weeds piece, the adapter for power, those kinds of things. So this poster sort of captures some of that. But as Corinne mentioned, part of the process is getting you at the beginning and making sure you know everything before you actually travel. So it's not like one visit to student life, it's multiple visits and timing for when you leave. But I'll throw it to Corinne and Kristen. They want to add anything that's relevant to this slide.
There's tons of little quirks that you'll find that are different between the UK and Canada. So as you can see on the bottom, the paper size is different. And that is something that always blows the mind of my mentees, because they come with all their folders ready to sort the paper and it doesn't fit. So that's one to keep an eye on. But there are quite small little quirks, but it is home away from home. This is where we came from, most of us anyway, at one point in our history. So yeah, it's nothing that you can't get used to quite quickly.
Corinne, anything to add?
No, I didn't know about the paper. That's pretty cool. I learned about that when I saw the slide. No, my toolkit includes the checklist of things to get done before you go, in terms of how to keep you safe. Is it insurance? Is it the legalities? Who's going to meet you at the airport when you get off the plane? Do you have, your emergency contact there in case there's delays? So, our checklist is a little different on this side, but this is fabulous. Really didn't know about the paper. That's interesting.
Consequently, I'll just mention that we do organize your transfers for you.
Yes.
And we encourage you to try to package your travel together so we can arrive. And we have a great service. Actually, we had one of our biochemistry students send a letter to our taxi service to say how welcoming she felt it was. It was her favorite thing about the whole entire time. She absolutely loved the taxi driver. So, and be prepared to sit backwards onto traffic, because the cabs, you'll face both directions, and be careful about which side you go to, because it's the opposite side in this country. So you'll have to go to the right rather than the left. Yeah. No, wait.
Fun.
The other way around.
The other side. Yeah.
You're on the left side, we're on the right side. Yeah, it's one of those places where umbrellas work too in the UK. They don't work in Newfoundland very well. Next step, is to try to make your decision, or at least explore a little bit more. You have my email contact, Corinne's contact, and Kristen's contact. I would generate the questions that you're going to think about after this presentation's over, and start firing them off. Again, and if we don't have the answer, we'll reach out to someone to find out the answer, but you won't find anyone that won't find you the answer at some point in time. And I will give a couple of minutes to see if anyone has something, a burning question, especially if you think it's applicable to the group that they want to throw open. So you can open your mic and just jump in there, any of the students on the call. And again, if you're wondering something or we alluded to something that you didn't understand. All right, Dave, you have a question. Want to go ahead, Dave?
Yes, the question about the PRCs. I'm not sure what that is.
Police record check, they should,
Oh.
I think,
I
they
think a
should
criminal
be-
record check. Okay.
Yeah, it should be as recent as possible. So if you were planning to come over in January, you'd want something from maybe a month or two before. If you have something that's slightly longer, you could always contact me and I can contact the school and see if it's okay, frankly, if you've already paid for one. But for the sake of $20, you might want to make sure it's as up to date as possible. But
And they're
you'd also,
typically, and they're typically taking 3 to 4 weeks to process right now here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
so first observation is October. I will, Dave, I will check on that for you and I'll let Darren know. And I'll just check to see what the longest time. Yeah, I'll check on that for you. So can they use the same PRC? So October, will it be valid? October. We historically our DBSs are once a year. No, once every 3 years. Once you have one, so I'm gonna say it should be okay, but I will double check for you.
Yeah, so Kristen, just for clarity, they'll probably get their records done in July, right? Or August. So that's when the date will be issued. So then the question is, it's still valid for January in the UK? It's okay here, but it's still valid over there. Good question, Dave. Glad you asked.
My gut says yes, but I will double check.
Perfect, thanks. Anyone else who would like to throw a question either through chat or through your mic?
Yes, that is the RNC Certificate of Conduct. Make sure you check the box that says vulnerable sector as well. You're very welcome.
Still getting used to the chat thing here.
I just talk to it like I'm talking to a person.
Sorry. Yeah. No, that we're not seeing any other ones coming through.
All right, well,
Don't hesitate to be in contact.
Absolutely.
April, will it be valid for October?
I have my record check from April will be valid for October.
yeah, so this is not for the internship in January. April will be valid for October, but not get you to January when you start your internship, Stephanie. So, you'd be okay for your October visit in Newfoundland, but you'll be outside the norm.
Yeah. If
obviously-
you're working with vulnerable people, you have to think that anything could happen between April and January. So you just gotta kind of keep that in mind.
They're only as good as the day they're written, really, right? So
Correct.
the
Yes.
longer the bigger the lag, the more people worry about it.
Yeah.
Final call. Any additional? Thanks, Stephanie. Another good question. Any other questions or comments you want to make before we conclude? Everyone, my office is 2025 if you need to drop by or for another chat. And both Corinne and Kristen are more than helpful. They're